Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys had a good Mother's Day. I know Zach Wilson did. By the way, guys, make sure that if you haven't already, to tell your mom that you love them. I know I did last night, so they are getting some kind of love. Anyway, today we have a tier list video that we're going to be making. We're taking it all the way back to like 2018, 2019. This was like when the tier list videos were popping the fuck off. So I'm going to be living in the past here for a second, a little pre-pandemic kind of trend for you guys, and I'm going to be ranking every single head coach on my tier list. Now, as you can see, I have pictured all 32 of the NFL coaches going into the 2023 season, and I have a few categories. The top category is him, he's him, Himothy, Himmy Neutron.
Shut up, bitch!
All right, I'll stop. Anyway, this category is for the coaches that have won Super Bowls, guys that can win you Super Bowls, just essentially the best of the best, right? You guys figure that out by the name and the color association. Green means good. These coaches are good, right? Then below that, we have the they-ite.
I mean, it's all right. Like,
these are the coaches. They're pretty good, but they kind of have a flaw in their game at some point. They maybe have a few question marks that they haven't answered yet, and they are not in that upper echelon of coaches like some of these other guys. And then our next category is mid. Just like, some of the girls that you might be calling at your school, mid. Maybe they have some good qualities, but they aren't really well-rounded. They aren't really the whole package. They're not desirable, really. And if you have one of these coaches in this tier or below, you're probably looking to replace them, would be my inclination. Tier below that, we have waste of money. These coaches get paid millions of dollars to know football, to come up with game plans, to win football games, and some of them don't do that. And some of them don't do that to such an atrocious degree that the team owners are actively wasting millions of dollars to employ these coaches when there are much more better suited people that could take the position. And then we have dog shit.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Simply put, these coaches are dog shit. They suck. They should be coaching junior varsity. They should be coaching the freshman team at your local high school. These guys suck. And then we have the I don't know, to be honest. These are, I'm kind of seeing when we get there, maybe some of the rookie coaches or guys that, man, I just don't fucking know yet. But that is out of the way. Before I get into my list, I want to remind you guys to please subscribe to the channel. We've been seeing great growth lately, so I really appreciate that. And comment down below what you think of my ranking. I'm interested to see what you guys think of my tier list ranking of these head coaches. All right, so the list is just like this. This is the exact order we're going to go into, starting off with Jonathan Gannon, a dog shit. Jonathan Gannon's dog shit. I know that he's a rookie head coach, and he technically hasn't even coached any games for the Cardinals, but just given his track record, I just think he's kind of a weirdo, man. I don't know. Like, the introductory press conference thing with Rondale Moore, to me, is just so weird. And I just think he's a weirdo. And I think in the biggest stage, got absolutely fucking dunked on by the Chiefs, which is, like, yeah. But, again, I don't know. I just don't have a good feeling about Jonathan Gannon. He's taking over one of the worst rosters in the NFL. And I think he's way in over his head. All right, let's go to then Arthur Smith. I'm going to put Arthur Smith in the waste of money category. I really don't think Arthur Smith's a good coach. I know he had some good years in Tennessee when, he was the offensive coordinator. But then again, the game plan there was just to turn around and hand the ball to Derrick Henry. Not sure he necessarily elevated that team. The strength of that team was the running game and the defense. I'm not sure that he's done much in Atlanta either, unfortunately. Now, with Bijan Robinson, I think maybe you could see him start to be able to cook a little bit more. But up until this point, he's totally wasted Kyle Pitts. He's, given the car keys to Desmond Ridder. The Falcons have done absolutely nothing. The division was pretty up for grabs last year. I know Brady was still there, but the division wasn't very good. They had an opportunity to take it, and they couldn't. I just don't know. I just don't know about Arthur Smith. John Harbaugh, the best Harbaugh brother. I'm going to put in Heite. He did win a Super Bowl. That was a little over 10 years ago. And I think John Harbaugh is one of those guys. He's just consistent. He's consistently good. Nothing that's like going to blow you away. But John Harbaugh, his teams are always well coached. His teams are always, at the very least, in the mix of the playoffs. They survived large chunks of the last couple of seasons without Lamar Jackson. This speaks volumes to John Harbaugh as a coach, I think. Again, not one of the upper echelon guys, but he's aight. Zach Taylor. Ooh. Zach Taylor. So I'm debating put him in the bottom of they aight, but I kind of think he's mid, unfortunately. Now, I know the Bengals have done a lot of winning, and in the Zach Taylor regime, they've kind of broken a lot of barriers that they haven't broken in a long time. And I get that to a certain extent, but also, how much of that is Zach Taylor and how much of that is Joe Burrow? I think Joe Burrow deserves more credit than Zach Taylor does. I don't necessarily think that Zach Taylor is the one scheming them and winning them games. I think that's really in the hands of Joe Burrow and that defense. He has not blown me away yet. There have been a few close games where I think his coaching could have been the difference, like the Super Bowl, like last year's AFC Championship game, and it really hasn't been. So I am going to put Zach Taylor in mid. I know some guys feel very strongly about him one way or the other. Some people think he's a top 5 coach. Some people think he's a bottom 5 coach. I kind of see him a little bit in the middle there. I'm going to put him in mid. Sean McDermott. This one's going to be a hot take. You guys are not going to like this one. I'm going to put him in mid. Now, a few years ago, I would have had Sean McDermott as like a top 5, top 6 head coach. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, the Bills have severely underperformed. The Bills are a very talented roster and have arguably a top 3 quarterback in the NFL with Josh Allen. They have a superstar wide receiver. They've had a really good defense. And they've really never been a threat. I know they made the AFC Championship game a few years ago, but, I mean, that's really it. You guys, they've lost in the divisional round 2 years in a row with that stacked of a roster. I think a team with this much talent should be making a lot more noise. I mean, the Bengals, arguably, I think pound for pound, are not as good of a roster. They may be more talented offensively speaking, but I think defensively speaking, the Bills are much more talented. They're very comparable to what the Bengals are. The Bengals have severely overachieved the Bills. I do think some of that has to fall on Sean McDermott. I do, And this is a hot take. I'm not saying that he's awful. I'm saying that he's mid. And if the Bills continue to underperform, Sean McDermott's job might be in jeopardy. All right, that's what I'm going to say. Frank Reich for the Panthers. Now, I did like him as the Colts head coach, and I think the reason he was fired was because they couldn't get the quarterback situation figured out. And I don't necessarily think that's his fault. I think, getting Phillip Rivers and getting Carson Wentz and getting Matt Ryan, not the best. I do like Frank Reich, and I think he's going to be good with Bryce Young. But just until he proves me wrong, I have to put him in mid. Again, not one of these upper echelon guys, not one of these guys that you're kind of like, oh, we could win a Super Bowl. I think he's good, and I think we'll see now that he has a quarterback what he really is capable of. But for right now, he lands in mid. Next, we have Matt Eberflus, the Bears head coach, and I'm just going to do all Bears fans a favor here. He's dog shit. I know he's only had 1 year, and this is not me trying to be super harsh on Matt Eberflus, but, I just don't get why he was hired in the first place, right? He was hired last year. His qualifications were that he was, the Colts defensive coordinator, and they were, a borderline top 10 defense while he was there. Okay. The first year on the job, the Bears were literally the worst team in the NFL, in fairness. He also is not very inept offensively, where you have a young quarterback on a rookie deal in Justin Fields. So it doesn't match the Bears very well. Also, the defense that he was, so known for wasn't good last year for the Bears. I thought that he was underqualified coming in. I don't like him as their head coach, and I worry that if the Bears continue to improve their roster, Matt Eberflus will be the one holding them back. So for right now, he's going to end up in dog shit. Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski is an interesting one for me because a few years ago when he first took over in Cleveland and they won that playoff game, Browns fans thought he was, the second coming of Jesus Christ. He was really good out of the gate with Cleveland, and then it kind of tapered off, and we've gotten back to the kind of same old in Cleveland. I like him more than most. I'm going to put him right below Frank Reich. I think that he's kind of fallen off a little bit in the last couple of years, unfortunately, but I still think that he could be a quality coach. he could be a playoff contender. If they figure it out with Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson figures it out, they could be a playoff team. But, like, I'm not scared when I see Kevin Stefanski on my schedule. Let's just say that, right? All right, Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is a waste of money. He's not a good head coach. I don't know why people think that Mike McCarthy is a good head coach. It didn't work in Green Bay. He had loaded fucking rosters in Green Bay. The Cowboys are pretty loaded themselves, and they're not getting past the divisional round with Mike McCarthy. I'm sorry. The Cowboys are not getting past the divisional round with Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is a bumbling idiot. I don't know why Jerry Jones likes him so much. I think Jerry Jones likes him because he can push him around a little bit. Mike McCarthy is not the type of guy to want to be a control freak, want to do everything. Jerry Jones has all the power in that Cowboys organization. Mike McCarthy just coaches the fucking team. There are some coaches that like Belichick. Belichick acts as the GM. He makes personnel decisions. He is very involved in the draft stuff. Mike McCarthy is not doing none of that shit, right? Mike McCarthy is coaching the team, and Jerry Jones, that's all he's letting him do, right? Additionally, you want the job of a coach is to elevate a team. I don't think he's elevated the Cowboys in really any way. If anybody on that coaching staff has done that, it's been Dan Quinn with the massive improvement of the Cowboys defense over the last couple of years. Guys like Micah Parsons, guys like Trayvon Diggs. I would even say Leighton Vander Esch. That defense has looked great, and Dan Quinn has been awesome. What does Mike McCarthy do? Well, I don't get it. I think it's a waste of money. I think the Cowboys could have a much better head coach. And I think if they did, we might be having a conversation that the Cowboys could be a legitimate contender in the NFL. But for right now, they are a wild card. They're a wild card matchup type team, right? They're gonna maybe win a wild card game, maybe they lose it. They ain't winning the divisional round. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, Sean Payton. Let's go to Sean Payton. This is gonna be my first. I don't know. Here's why I say I don't know. The whole Sean Payton marriage with the Broncos is going to solely depend on whether or not he can fix Russell Wilson. Point blank. If Russell Wilson can return to being Danger Russ, Mr. Unlimited, then I think then this marriage will work really well, and Sean Payton will be considered one of the league's best coaches. But if it doesn't work, and if the Broncos continue to struggle, and if they continue to waste the opportunity that was presented to them, then I think he's going to end up in the mid category. Now, I will say during his time in New Orleans, Sean Payton was a really good head coach. He was. But for the vast majority of those years, he had Drew Brees, who was a Hall of Fame quarterback. He always had good offense. He's an offensive guy. He had good offense. And now, he's playing in Denver, cold environment, thin air, with a different quarterback. Not only a different quarterback, but a quarterback with a much different style. I mean, Russ has always been more of a out-of-structure, scramble-around type of guy. Drew Brees was a very run the play as it was designed, throw accurately, don't, razzle-dazzle too much. So it's just two contracting styles, and I've gone back and forth on whether I think it'll work or not. But for right now, I'm just going to put Sean Payton in the I don't know category. Dan Campbell. This is an interesting one. Because people think really highly of Dan Campbell. They think he is a master leader. They think he's the greatest. Guys will run through a brick wall for him. And to a certain degree, I agree with that. I think he's a very good locker room coach. I think the guys really buy in. I think the players love him. Those are all great categories. But what I don't like with Dan Campbell is his game planning, his scheming, his in-game adjustments, key elements to being a head coach. Very, very key elements to be a head coach. So while it's all great and dandy that the players love you and everything like that, at a certain point, you got to be coach. You have to lead them to success, put them in the right position to succeed. And for the most part, I haven't seen that with Dan Campbell yet. So for right now, I'm going to put him in mid. I don't like Dan Campbell. I'm going to put him a little bit above Stefanski and Reich. I'm going to put him like right there. Right there. Just because I think, A, the Lions are on the they're on the rising, right? The Lions, I think, have gotten a lot better. And I have seen noticeable improvements with the Lions under Dan Campbell. Good. I'm still waiting for those in-game adjustments. I also wonder how much of the success that the Lions had, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, was due to offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. That's a big question mark for me. But it does say a lot that Ben Johnson wanted to stay in Detroit instead of pursuing a head coaching job. So clearly the culture in Detroit's really well. That is a big component of being a head coach. So good for Dan Campbell there. Matt LaFleur. This is a tricky one because I wonder how much of Matt LaFleur's success in Green Bay, and there's been a lot of success, regular season success, has been attributed to Aaron Rodgers, and how much it will or will not be due to Jordan Love. I'm I'm thinking back, and LaFleur, they've had their playoff struggles right during his tenure, and in the years that Aaron Rodgers was an MVP, they were like the number one seed, yada yada yada, but they were never able to make it to the Super Bowl. And in the NFC Championship game, specifically the one against the 49ers, they got absolutely ass wiped by Kyle Shanahan, specifically Raheem Mostert, but Kyle Shanahan absolutely ass wiped them. So I'm tempted to put him in mid, but up until now, he's been good. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to put him in they-ite, and what I'm going to say is I'm going to put a little asterisk around it, and I'm going to say, hey, check back in a year. If him and Jordan Love are successful and they make the playoffs, and he did it with another quarterback, great. If the Green Bay Packers are a fucking dumpster fire and they're picking top 10th overall, I can say that it was probably due to Aaron Rodgers. So we're going to slide him down a little bit. I did think this year the Packers, they struggled a lot. And some of that I just think was the guys just not being prepared, not being ready. So whatever. But I'm not going to totally knock him over one bad year. But watch out for Matt LaFleur. Watch out for him to move down a little bit. Doug Peterson. Really like Doug Peterson. I'm going to move him in they-ite. I'm going to put him above John Harbaugh and Matt LaFleur. Here's why. Doug Peterson took over a Jaguars team that had literally picked back-to-back first overall, right? He came in, and obviously it's not hard to be better than Urban Meyer. It's really not. I could probably do a better job head coaching a team than Urban Meyer. But the fact that he took this young Jaguars team that was such a rebuilding team, such a young team, and immediately flipped them around. I mean, I'm talking about year one, they were legit. It took them about half a season to get going, but once the Jaguars got cooking, they were awesome. They had that awesome comeback in the playoffs against the Chargers, almost beat the Chiefs in Kansas City, which is no small task. Trevor Lawrence looks exactly what he's built up to be as the number one overall pick. The free agent signings look good. Christian Kirk, all of those guys. Offense was great. That's his specialty. The Jaguars are bought in. They are ready to go. They're young. I can't say enough good things about Doug Peterson. Also, you want to talk about Doug Peterson earlier, about 5-6 years ago, won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. So he is a guy who can get it done in the Super Bowl. He's a guy that can take a young team to the playoffs. And I'm very excited to see what he does with Trevor Lawrence in the years to come. Need no explanation. Andy Reid is fucking him. Andy Reid is pretty much without a doubt the best quarterback. Well, he did do that PPK tournament. Andy Reid is without a doubt the best coach in the NFL right now. Literally just won the Super Bowl. Won 2 Super Bowls in the last 5 or 6 years. The Chiefs are just a fucking buzzsaw. There is just no beating the Chiefs. There's no out-scheming Andy Reid. There's no being more creative than Andy Reid. They literally fucking ran a ring around the rosy 360 touchdown play this year just because they can. Because why the fuck? They just can. Andy Reid's just running circles around the rest of the league right now. His play design is unmatched. His game planning is unmatched. His play calling is some of the best in the league. You just kind of put your hands up and just say, damn. Like, damn. And I am not going to contribute all of Patrick Mahomes' success to Andy Reid. However, Patrick Mahomes had a lot of question marks coming into the draft. And Andy Reid played an instrumental part in molding him into Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid's number one. I really shouldn't be spending this much time elaborating on it. Brandon Staley. I'm going to put he's mid. He's mid, man. I'm sorry. You know what? Nah, I'm going to put him in a waste of money. Here's the thing, man. When you have Justin Herbert and you can't fucking win a playoff game, his over-aggressiveness is lethal to the Chargers. I just don't know, man. His defenses always seem to disappoint in big spots. I just don't know, man. I just can't do it with Brandon Staley. He's just not it. Sean McVay. Sean McVay's him. Everybody knows that. Sean McVay is one of the best coaches in the NFL. Sean McVay's awesome. He's won a Super Bowl. Don't let the Rams rebuilding influence your decision on Sean McVay. He's awesome. He's a great coach. One of the best offensive masterminds in the NFL. And he very much deserves all the accolades that you could give him. Josh McDaniels. Kind of the complete opposite. Josh McDaniels is dog shit, man. I don't know why people like Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels is fucking dog shit. He was dog shit with the Broncos all those years ago. He's dog shit now with the Raiders. People think just because he was Belichick's, fucking right-hand man, he was bringing coffee to Belichick every day, that he's some genius. He sucks, man, and he's an asshole. I hate Josh McDaniels. I think he's one of the worst coaches in the NFL. He sucks. He just sucks, man. Now, kind of the complete opposite, a guy that I really like, and I think that is actually very good, Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel this year really turned the Dolphins around. And when I mean really turned the Dolphins around, I mean really turned Tua around. Brian Flores was very kind of known for the fact that he was not a Tua supporter. But Mike McDaniel not only believed in Tua, but he got the most out of him. That offense, when Tua was healthy, was absolutely lethal. And now that they've kind of fixed some of the stuff on the defensive side of the ball, getting Fangio, getting Jalen Ramsey, all of those guys, I'm very excited to see what the Dolphins do. I'm very, very excited, and I think Mike McDaniel has a chance to go way up. Bill Belichick. Don't let nobody confuse you. Bill Belichick's still him. I understand he's not the coach he was a few years ago, but the motherfucker's won 6 Super Bowls. He's going to be in him for as long as he's a professional coach. I'm sorry, right? Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen is also dog shit. I don't like Dennis Allen. I think he's a bad coach. I don't know the appeal with Dennis Allen. I mean, I get his defense is pretty good. I think he's a fine defensive coordinator, but to lead a whole team and to do all that, I just don't see it. The Raiders, they have Derek Carr now, which is a good veteran presence at quarterback, and they need it because Dennis Allen, I don't think, can run jack shit on offense. But yeah, I just don't think Dennis Allen's a good coach. I would take vast majority of head coaches over Dennis Allen if I was picking coaches. Next coach, we have Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll, he aight, man. I'm going to put him a little bit above Mike McDaniel just because, he won in the playoffs this year. The way he was able to turn around the Giants in, I talked about Doug Peterson. The way they turned around in a year is awesome. He got the most out of Daniel Jones. He's gotten the most out of, that Giants offense, who is kind of limited talent-wise. Very, very impressed with what Brian Daboll did this year in New York. Now, you might be asking, well, why are guys like Doug Peterson and John Harbaugh and Matt LaFleur ahead of him? Doug Peterson's ahead of him because he's won a Super Bowl in his past. That's pretty simple. John Harbaugh and Matt LaFleur are above him because they've had prolonged success. I don't think Brian Daboll's a one-hit wonder, but he's only done it for 1 year, so we do have to kind of pump the brakes a little bit and give the benefit of the doubt to guys who have done it continuously over their careers. But I think Brian Daboll is another guy that has a shot to absolutely skyrocket up this list, in a few years if the Giants keep playing the way that they've been playing last year. Next, the other New York head coach, Robert Saleh. I'm going to put him in... I'm going to put him in waste of money. I don't think Robert Saleh is all what he's built out to be. Look at the 49ers, right? He was the 49ers defensive coordinator, and then he got that head coaching job with the Jets. Well, then the 49ers replaced him with a better defensive coordinator in Deko Ryan. I also think Robert Saleh, his quarterback situation is a mess. Now, with them trading for Aaron Rodgers, maybe they get some stability there. And I will say that I think the Jets' defense has been pretty good. But to me, Robert Saleh is just not the coach to lead the Jets into the future. And I'm sorry, I'm yawning, man. It's late. Not the coach to lead him into the future, and not the coach to compete with the big dogs like the Bengals, like the Chiefs, like the Bills, like the Dolphins, the Chargers even. I I just don't think he's that guy, unfortunately. And, the Jets, they've kind of had some turmoil at head coach. So to have a guy who isn't dog shit is probably good. But I don't know, man. I think Robert Saleh is a bit overrated. Next, we have Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni, I'm putting right behind John Harbaugh. I like Nick Sirianni. I think he's done a great job with the Eagles so far, obviously. Only been there a few years, but they have quickly become the best team in the NFL. I'm going to say it. I know they just lost in the Super Bowl, but, man, they were this close. Getting this close to winning a Super Bowl gets you major props in my book. The way that they were able to, completely get the most out of Jalen Hurts is awesome. Now, the reason I don't have him is because I have one little question mark for Nick Sirianni. One little question mark. How important were those coordinators, right? You lost Jonathan Gannon and you lost Shane Steichen, the defensive and offensive coordinators, respectfully. Can Nick Sirianni lead this team? Was it their team or was it Nick's team? We're going to find out this year. But I don't see the Eagles taking too significant of a step backwards. So because of that, I have Nick Sirianni up there. Clearly can coach in big games. I mean, they were, again, very, very – I don't fault them for losing that Super Bowl. That was very, very close. Yeah. All right. Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's him. Won a Super Bowl a while ago. Continuously has the Steelers playing good defense. Now, I think he does struggle a little bit on the offensive side of the ball, and one of his weaknesses is the fact that he refuses to move on from Matt Canada, which to me is just so dumb. But I think that he's just a really good coach. He's a great leader. He's a great teacher, and he's a winner. They win. They've gone 500 or better every single year he's been the head coach, which is phenomenal. So kudos to Mike Tomlin. He's him. Speaking of somebody who's him, my boy Pete Carroll, again, won a Super Bowl. Every single year the Seahawks seem to be really good. Last year specifically, I think Pete Carroll should have been coach of the year last year, and I mean that so seriously. People had the Seahawks winning like 3-4 games. They thought they were going to be terrible at quarterback with Geno Smith. They had so many rookies who were going to get significant playing time. It could have been a disaster. Seahawks, in reality, went 9-8, went to the playoffs, held on with the 49ers for a half. The rookies, for the most part, played really well, especially Kenneth Walker and Tariq Woolen and Charles Cross. Geno was literally a Pro Bowler. I think Pete Carroll did not get enough credit for the job that he did last year with Seattle, and for that reason and many others, he's him. Let's go to Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is dog shit. He's dog shit. Ever since he's taken over Tampa, they've been just a lot worse of a team. They have not been able to recapture the magic of that Super Bowl run, and they just gotten worse and worse and worse ever since Bruce Arians has left. I think his specialty is defense, and that defense is getting worse. Todd Bowles, he's a coordinator, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know he was bad with the Jets. Now he's bad with the Bucs. He's going to get way worse now that Brady's not there. I'm sorry. My money's on Todd Bowles being the first coach to be fired next year, unfortunately. Mike Vrabel. I'm going to put him in he's all right. I'm going to put him right next to Sirianni right there. The Titans, they've been on a decline, yes. But I think Mike Vrabel is not the reason for that. I think Mike Vrabel is a very good coach, and he gets the most out of what he can with these guys, right? He is really, he's a tough son of a bitch. And his teams are always very physical. They're always very aggressive. And that is a direct reflection of, I think, the style that the head coach has. And will the Titans be very good next year? Probably not. But I think that, Tennessee, in terms of their coaching staff, is in good hands with Mike Vrabel. Next, we have Ron Rivera. I think Ron Rivera's he's also a waste of money. I'm a little bit better than Mike McCarthy, but to me, he's kind of a waste of money. Ron Rivera's kind of past his peak, unfortunately. Now, he's a great human being. I love Ron Rivera as a human being. Cancer survivor. Oh, I love him, right? I just don't think he's a great NFL head coach anymore. And especially as the league is moving more and more towards these young offensive guys, being an older defensive coordinator who is kind of very old school is kind of getting less and less in style. Ron Rivera, to me, the Washington, they've had trouble with quarterbacks, and he apparently really wanted Carson Wentz and really stuck his nose out for Carson Wentz. and that big of a swing and miss is kind of on him, I think. But Washington has not been. They've not really been a competitive team in the NFC. They've maybe snuck into the 7th seed once or twice, but they really have not been competitive at all. And I think they need to replace Ron Rivera here pretty soon. Next, we have Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan is also him. I'm going to put him at number 3. The 49ers are one of the best teams in the league. They have been for years now. Despite not having a elite guy at quarterback, Kyle Shanahan is top 3 in the NFL, in my opinion. He's a great play caller. He's a great offensive mind. I think he's a winner. And if the 49ers could have a somewhat decent quarterback and have that quarterback stay healthy, I think they would have definitely won a Super Bowl by now. But unfortunately, that's not how the apples have fallen, and so he is stuck without a Super Bowl. He's definitely going to be the only guy in the him category that has not won a Super Bowl. But I think that he is by far the best coach in the NFL that has not won a Super Bowl yet. So we'll leave it at that. Next, we have Deko Ryans. I'm going to put Deko Ryans in. I don't know. He's a rookie head coach. He's never been a head coach before. I don't know what to think of Deko Ryans. Houston's roster is not very good, but he could, bring new juice and revitalize them. I think that that's possible. I also think it's possible that the Texans fire their 3rd coach in 3 years. I just don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. So I will put him in I don't know for right now. Final 2, we have Shane Steichen of the Colts. I'm going to put him at the bottom of Height. Again, not been a coach before, but I loved what he did with Justin Herbert in his rookie year. I loved what he did with Jalen Hurts in Philly. And giving him the weapon that is Anthony Richardson, I think is going to be huge. I think he will get the most out of Anthony Richardson, and that Colts offense will be dangerous for years to come with Jonathan Taylor and Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman. But again, I don't know necessarily, so I can't put him too high, but I have a pretty good feeling Shane Steichen will be very good in the NFL. Lastly, we have Kevin O'Connell. I'm going to put Kevin O'Connell in mid, right behind Dan Campbell. Good offensive guy. I think that his offense is pretty good, but that defense was atrocious last year. And the Vikings won 11 one-score games, and while you might say, oh, that's a good sign for Kevin O'Connell, I think that's more luck than it is good coaching. I think that the Vikings are going to fall down to earth a little bit here, and I think the fact that they didn't win the playoff game, they have a good enough roster to where they should have won a playoff game. The fact that they didn't is kind of disappointing. So, but this is my list. This is my NFL tier list for head coaches. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will catch you in tomorrow's video. Peace out.